Picture this. You're stomping through the Kentucky backwoods, hitting the flask when a lonesome train whistle slices through the night. But no trains do, and that sound ain't mechanical. Then you hear it, your own damn name, whispered from the shadows on the Pope Lick train bridge above. That's when you know you're fucked. Since 1985, at least 10 poor souls have died up on that train bridge. But if you ask locals, those folks weren't alone on those tracks. They got lured up there by something not quite human. Half man, half goat, all nightmare fuel. This ain't just a monster that hunts you, it calls you, tricks you, and drags you to your doom. Hang tight, we're diving into Kentucky's deadliest cryptid. Welcome to Pope Lick Park, y'all. A blink and you'll miss it patch of suburban Louisville. And yes, that's the only way to pronounce that city. While most cryptid legends are just spooky stories, the Pope Lick Monsters legend comes with a real body count, making it arguably one of the deadliest urban legends in America. Now, you might be asking yourself, Uncle Perry, what the hell kind of place gets a name like Pope Lick and a reputation for body bags? Well, hang on to your ass, because this story's got more layers than a stripper at a church potluck. Towering over Pope Lick Creek is the Norfolk Southern Railway trestle. 772 feet of rusted steel and splintered timber stretching 90 feet above the ground. Built back in the late 1800s, this beast isn't some abandoned relic. It's alive and kicking, with freight trains barreling across multiple times every day at up to 40 miles an hour. One slip up there, and you're not just risking a nasty fall. You might just become a permanent part of the area. But here's where shit gets real sideways. The locals say something else stalks those tracks, and it ain't just train spotters or bored, stupid teenagers. Let me introduce you to the Pope Lick Monster. This creature looks like a terrifying chimera or a satyr from Greek mythology. Half man, half goat, and 100% fucked up. This bastard stands close to 8 feet tall, shrouded in mangy, matted, white or gray fur, with twisted horns corkscrewing out of its skull like the devil's handlebars. It has the torso, hands, and arms of a man, but with the head, legs, and hooves of a goat. Its face has glowing yellow eyes and a narrow, slightly curved muzzle. However, the part that'll make the hair on your ass stand up is its voice. People swear it can mimic human speech, calling out with perfect impersonations of loved ones, luring the curious and the easily influenced up onto that trestle. Some say it's got the strength to rip a grown man in half and the agility to leap from beam to beam on the bridge like it's a fucking giant jungle gym. Unlike most cryptid tales, which are usually blurry photos and tall stories, this one's got a body count. We're talking real deaths splashed across headlines and carved into local memory. Investigations, community outrage, families completely torn apart. The Pope Lick Monster isn't just a campfire story. It's a living, breathing, fucked up nightmare with receipts. In cryptid and paranormal circles, the legend exploded onto the national scene. The bridge has become a pilgrimage site for thrill seekers, paranormal investigators, and every flavor of weirdo with a camera. But let's get one thing straight. This ain't some fucking Halloween funhouse. This is a place where people have died, and whether you believe in monsters or not, the danger here is as real as your sister's pregnancy scare after spring break. As far as the lore goes, unlike most cryptids, there's not just one origin story. There's three. When it comes to the Pope Lick monster, nobody can agree on where the hell this cryptid crawled out from. But everybody agrees on one thing. Whatever's out there, it's bad fucking news. Over the decades, locals have brewed up three origin stories, each one weirder and nastier than the last. Let's crack open the legend and see what started this whole shit show. Origin 1, the circus train catastrophe. First up, you've got the legend that sounds like an episode of American Horror Story. The creature was discovered by a bearded lady named Madame Bristells. Miss Bristells was a member of a traveling circus in the 1930s owned by Colonel Schildknecht, who had a terrible reputation and was known to be a charlatan. Sharon and his ill repute were the members of his circus acts. Actually, thieves, murderers, and a wide assortment of criminals. One day, while in a small town near Beltsville, Maryland, Madame Bristells made a gruesome discovery. Near her living quarters, she found a small infant nestled inside a crate. This, however, was not a normal child. Miss Bristell nearly shit her bloomers as she saw the nubs of horns attached to the baby's forehead. Additionally, the child's strangely twisted legs ended in hooves. Needless to say, the Colonel, always eager to cash in on an opportunity, immediately exploited the infant by incorporating him into his sideshow of freaks. The deformed sideshow performer was tormented his whole life by the Colonel and the other performers. He was kept locked in a cage when he wasn't performing. One dark and gloomy evening, the circus train was traveling to the next stop on its circuit when the train derailed on the trestle over Pope Lick Creek, killing the majority of the circus members instantly. However, the Goatman, as the now fully grown foundling is called, survived. He staggered from the twisted wreckage and melted into the woods, bitterness and pain twisting him into something less human but more than animal. He became the monster, half man, half goat, killing as many as he can for revenge. Origin 2, the Devil's Deal. If you like your monsters with a side of brimstone, the second origin's right up your fiery alley. Picture a desperate Kentucky farmer, crops going to shit, livestock dropping dead, his family on the brink. With nowhere left to turn, he makes a pact with the Prince of Darkness himself. The price? Goat sacrifices, blood rituals, and his soul signed away under a full moon. The devil delivered the goods. Rain fell. Fields flourished. But then it was time to pay the piper. Instead of riches, the farmer reneged on the deal and was twisted into a beast, reflecting his sins. The dreaded Goatman of Pope Lick. Now his mournful bleats echoed through the trees. A warning to anyone fucking desperate enough to make deals when they shouldn't. Once in a while, you can hear his faint bleats echoing off the hills. Origin 3, someone fucking around in a mask. Now here's the theory that'll get the skeptics and the diehards arguing in the comments. What if the Pope Lick monster wasn't born in a lab or summoned from the underworld, but cooked up in the mind of some prankster with a goat mask and a mean streak? Picture it. Late 40s or early 50s, the trestle's the local hotspot for teens trying to impress each other by checking her gag reflex. Along comes a wise ass, maybe a bored railroad worker, maybe just a kid who loves chaos, who decides to throw on a goat costume and scare the hell out of anyone dumb enough to linger after dark. The prank works too damn well. Word spreads, stories get juicier, and suddenly every kid in Louisville is hearing about the goddamn Goatman hanging out by the tracks. Of course, copycats jump in. Each one adds their own spin. Glowing eyes, guttural screams, maybe a little stage blood for effect. The legend snowballs, feeding on itself with every retelling. What started as a Halloween gag or a dare morphs into a full-blown urban legend. And the wildest part? Sometimes the legend gets so fucking big, it starts to feel real. Folks start seeing shit in the shadows, hearing hooves on gravel, and wondering if maybe there's something out there after all. That's the magic and the menace of urban legends. They don't need a government conspiracy or a mad scientist. Sometimes all it takes is a goat mask, a dark night, and a good story to keep folks looking over their shoulders and shitting themselves. What really sets the Popelick monster apart isn't just its looks, it's the special abilities it has. The beast is said to mimic voices with chilling fucking accuracy, calling out the tones of loved ones or friends, luring the unsuspecting up onto the trestle. Some survivors claim it can hypnotize its victims with its eyes and or voice, drawing them forward like moths to a flame, straight into the path of an oncoming train. It's frequently said that the beast is so terrifying that visitors jump from the train bridge in fear. Some tell of the Goatman possessing an axe as he threatens those daring to trespass on his structure. Whether it's supernatural power or just cold, calculated cruelty, the result is the same. People die and the legend grows. 3 origin stories, 1 nightmare. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Stories are one thing, but real encounters with this fucker? That's when shit gets real. For more than 70 years, the Popelick monster has been scaring the shit out of locals, thrill seekers, and the occasional unlucky trespasser. Here's a chronological rundown of the creepiest, wildest, and most unforgettable encounters, each one adding a fresh layer to Kentucky's weirdest legend. Late 1940s, the first whispers in the holler. Legend has it, one night in 1948, a tobacco farmer called Earl witnessed a hulking, horned figure lurking just beyond the tree line, its red eyes glinting in the lantern light. Earl was so fucking rattled, he never worked past sunset after that. 1950s, teenage dares and midnight screams. By the 1950s, one infamous account tells of a trio who claimed to hear their own names whispered from below the tracks. The voices disturbingly familiar, like lost relatives or dead friends. When one boy dropped his flashlight, he swore a clawed hand reached up between the ties and tried to grab his fucking ankle. Bricking it, the group hauled ass, but not before seeing a twisted, horned silhouette disappearing into the brush. 1968, Charles Jack Baum II. The line between myth and tragedy blurred when Charles Jack Baum II and some friends tried to cross the trestle on a dare. A train thundered through, striking and killing Charles, one of the earliest documented deaths tied to the area's sinister fame. 1970s, rituals at the Four Winds Farm. According to the lore, things got even weirder in the 70s. If that's even fucking possible. Teens reported hearing ritualistic drumming and chanting drifting from the woods, always accompanied by that unmistakable bleeding. One moonless night, a group of paranormal hunters watched a tall, goat-headed figure emerge from the shadows. Its fucked up puppet-like movement kept them from approaching it. Yeah, fuck that noise. 1984, Sean Fleischman. Sean Fleischman survived a close call after falling from the trestle to dodge a train. Unbelievably, he lived to tell the tale, but his harrowing escape became another warning for thrill seekers. 1985, John K. List. On June 1st, John K. List was struck and killed by a train while shooting crows from the tracks. His friend, Randall Graves, survived by clinging to a crosstie, the train thundering just inches above. 1986 to 1987, David Wayne Bryant. David Bryant leapt from the trestle in April 1986 to avoid an oncoming train, suffering severe injuries from the fall. After a year of complications, he passed away in May 1987, a slow victim of the trestle's dangers. 1987, Jack Charles Baum. On February 18th, Jack Charles Baum was killed by a passing train while crossing the trestle, echoing the earlier tragedy in his family and deepening the legend's curse. 1992, Grady's 9 Lives. At 1:45 a.m., Miami University student Grady found himself trapped as a train approached. He tried to hang on to a railroad tie, but lost his grip and plunged nearly 100 feet. Against all odds, he survived, adding another wild chapter to the bridge's story. 1993, Christina Butts. A group of friends were cornered by a train on the trestle. Most, including Christina, scrambled down onto the metal framework of the bridge. Christina was completely fucking paralyzed by fear and had to be rescued from the bridge's metal beams by firefighters. 1994, James Ratterman and Michael Wells. James Ratterman was killed after his ATV overturned on the tracks, trapping him as a train, unable to stop, bore down on him. What the hell were you doing riding an ATV on that thing, man? Come on. That same year, Michael Wells survived by squeezing under the rails, the train passing just inches above him. 2000, Nicholas Jewell. Nicholas Jewell fell to his death while trying to outrun a train. Another young life claimed by the trestle's fatal allure. 2016, tragedy on the tracks. In April 2016, Raquel Bain and her boyfriend visited the trestle. Drawn by the legend, they climbed onto the tracks, only to be trapped by an oncoming train. Bain's boyfriend survived by hanging from the trestle's edge, but Raquel was struck by the train and fell 90 feet to her death. The Goatman's legend had claimed another victim. May 26, 2019, Savannah Bright. On May 26, 2019, 15-year-old Savannah Bright and her friend 16-year-old Kaylee Keeling were walking along the Pope Lick Trestle when they were struck by a Norfolk Southern train. Savannah was killed instantly and pronounced dead at the scene. Kaylee survived and was hospitalized. This tragedy stands as the most recent and sobering reminder. The Pope Lick monster legend isn't just a spooky story. It's a goddamn real-world danger that's drawn countless thrill-seekers to their doom. The Poplik monster's most dangerous power may simply be the fucking lure of the legend itself. But what is the Poplik monster? A mutant? A demon? Or just a damn good ghost story? Let's get into the wildest theories, the skeptics' hot takes, and the believers' creepiest evidence. Stick around. Shit's about to get even weirder. Alright, cryptid chasers, it's time to peel back the last layer of goat fur and get into the meaty debate. Is the Poplik monster a flesh and blood beast, a supernatural nightmare, or just a damn good story cooked up to keep teens from getting splattered by a train? Let's break down the theories, skeptical and supernatural, using the evidence, the folklore, and a healthy dose of side-eye. Plenty of folklorists and locals say the Poplik monster is just a good old-fashioned scare tactic. The trestle itself is a goddamn death trap. 90 feet in the air, no guardrails, no escape platforms, and trains that show up faster than a Kentucky thoroughbred. What better way to keep hormone-addled teenagers from climbing up there than to invent a monster that'll drag you to hell if you set foot on the tracks? It fits the classic pattern. Scare the shit out of them and save some lives. But here's the curveball. If this story is just about keeping kids safe, why hasn't it worked? Even after grisly deaths, news headlines, and the railroad company shelling out plenty of greenbacks for 8-foot fences and signs plastered all over the fucking place, the body count keeps climbing. That's because people still sneak up there. Damn the risks. If the legend was just a government warning, it's the worst PSA ever. Some skeptics point to the bridge's freaky acoustics. The Poplik trestle sits on a natural bowl or holler, surrounded by woods and water, with steel and concrete amplifying every sound. Train whistles, animal calls, even your own goddamn voice can bounce around and morph into some weird kind of shit. This could explain the reports of hypnotic voices or loved ones calling you onto the tracks. Just echoes and tricks of the ear. Alright, it's a plausible theory, especially if you've ever stood under a bridge and heard your voice come back to you all warped. Yeah, it's pretty fucking weird. But here's the problem. Witnesses have reported hearing the monster's mimicked voices in dead silence. No one was talking at the time, and it was long before any trains showed up. The bridge might play audio tricks, but it can't conjure voices out of thin air. The animal experts say sightings are probably just misidentified wildlife. Maybe a goat escaped from a nearby farm, or a deer reared up on its hind legs. Or, let's be honest, some local kid in a goat mask trying to scare his buddies. Add in the adrenaline of trespassing and the power of suggestion, and your brain fills in the rest. Suddenly, a shadow in the woods becomes a 7-foot monster. But this explanation runs into a brick wall like your mom after a night at the Elks Club. Dozens of people over decades have described the same freaky details. Not just generically something weird, but a goat-headed, man-armed, white-furred creature with goat legs and hooves with twisted horns coming out of its head. Always upright, always massive. That's a hell of a lot of people mistaking a billy goat for Bigfoot in drag. Finally, some point to the wild days of the 1980s when satanic panic swept the nation. I remember those days. Good times. urban legends exploded, fueled by slumber parties, tabloid TV, and early internet chat rooms. The Pope Lick monster fit right in, a goat demon haunting the woods, tied to rumors of cults and devil worship. The story spread like wildfire. Sure, the legend grew legs in this era, but reports of the monster date way before the Satanic Panic. People were seeing something weird on that trestle long before the internet or Geraldo Rivera. Believers point to one thing above all: the sheer consistency of the sightings. For over half a century, people with nothing in common have described the same creature. These aren't quick glances either. They're close encounters, sometimes terrifyingly close. If this is all mass hysteria or misidentification, why are all the details so damn specific and so damn consistent? Another popular theory is that the Pope Lick monster can fuck with your head. Witnesses and survivors talk about feeling an irresistible urge to walk onto the trestle, even as they heard a train approaching. Some say the monster mimics the voices of loved ones, calling them by name. Others claim its gaze leaves them frozen, unable to move or think clearly until it's too late. If you're looking for a reason why so many people ignore the obvious danger, supernatural hypnosis is as good an answer as any. Some cryptid hunters get downright conspiratorial. They argue that all the conflicting origin stories, circus freak, satanic farmer, crazy dude in a mask, are deliberate smokescreens. The real story is being hidden to keep people from digging too goddamn deep. Maybe there was a real incident, a real creature, and the legends are just there to muddy the waters. Classic misdirection, straight out of the government playbook. The truly paranormal crowd takes it a step further. They say the Pope Lick monster isn't just a physical beast, but a supernatural entity that feeds on fear, tragedy, and death. That's why the body count keeps rising, even with new fences and warning signs. The monster adapts, finds new ways to lure victims, and draws strength from every tragedy. It's not just haunting the bridge, it's haunting the people who obsess over it. At the end of the day, the Pope Lick monster sits at the crossroads of cautionary tale, mass hysteria, and genuine mystery. Skeptics have their logic. Believers have their chills. But nobody's been able to put this legend down for good. Maybe it's all in our heads. Maybe there's something out there in the dark woods, waiting for the next curious soul to climb that trestle. Which camp are you in? Skeptic or believer? What's your theory on why the Pope Lick monster legend just won't die? Drop your thoughts in the comments and keep those flashlights handy. The Pope Lick trestle is still very much alive. An active railway, fenced and patrolled. Yet every year the legend calls out to a fresh wave of daredevils and cryptid hunters, tempting them with the promise of a glimpse at something fucked up. Despite clear warnings and new barriers, the siren song of the monster keeps echoing through Louisville's back roads. In 2019, the tragic death of Savannah Bright brought national headlines and a new round of urgent safety campaigns. But the trestle's deadly allure hasn't faded. Instead, the myth has only grown, drawing legend trippers from across the country to the outskirts of Louisville. These thrill seekers and folklore fans have transformed the Pope Lick monster into a dark tourism magnet. fueling a folklore scene that's as energized as it is eerie. Local businesses, artists, and storytellers have embraced the beast with annual festivals, Halloween horror walks, and guided tours, turning a deadly legend into a fucking bizarre piece of Kentucky's cultural identity. For those who prefer their chills at a safer distance, the trestle can still be seen from public roads and hiking trails in the parklands. The monster could be just a story, but it looms large, especially as dusk settles and the woods grow quiet. So, if you ever find yourself near Pope Lick Creek after dark, remember, the fences may be taller, the warnings louder, and the crowds bigger, but the legend is still out there. And sometimes, when the wind's just right, folks say you can hear the faintest bleeding echo from the trestle, followed by a heavy hoofed footstep in the gravel behind you. Maybe it's just your imagination. Or maybe, just maybe, the Pope Lick monster is closer than you think. If you get a mental hard-on when facts confirm folklore, tap that like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss out on more of my fucked up commentary. And besides, I really do appreciate it. What do y'all think? Is the Pope Lick monster real? A cautionary, scary tale? Or some kind of ghostly siren? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're ready to crank that shit up to 11, that join button's got your name on it. For just $2.99, you can have my back in a huge way. Until next time, y'all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the real beast.